Hi, I'm Alejandro Moreno Gil, and in this video I'm decided to review a theater play called This Is Our Youth by Kenneth Lonergan. This author is considered to be a multitask entrepreneur, making films, writing scripts, but most importantly, he's a playwright. Born in New York, he received many awards for directing films such as You Can't Count on Me, Manchester by the Sea, and Gangs of New York, which he personally contributed to the screenplay for this last film. When it comes to theatre, his first success came with This Is Our Youth in 1996. However, in 2014, it was revived on Broadway, hence receiving a nomination for the Tony Award for the Best Revival of a Play. Many critics cited the play as an unfair antony for this situation of America in a season where many wise men forced to introduce stupid kids, footloose to young audiences, whereas Kenneth Lonergan managed to create a funny, cruel, and compassionate reality reflecting the real world we are living in. This world was marked by American pressure on many teenagers to be great entrepreneurs, earning money, being successful, buying cars, and being men and women when they are just adolescents and kids. So the plot of these plays relies on smoking pot teenagers emerging as young adults in a country that has rejected everything they were brought up to believe in. In the very last wave of New York City 60 style liberalism, they found a way, they find no way to go. So This Is Our Youth is a living snapshot of the moment between adolescence and adulthood when many young first go out into the world on their own, armed with ideas and techniques they developed as teenagers. So the main problem was they were quite young to face a world full of competition, people wanting to earn money, and they were just teenagers, products from the American dream and consumerism. In the argument, we can find three main characters who gives credit to the title of this play: Dennis, Warren, and Jessica. Dennis is considered to be a dynamic, intelligent, but appalling kind of person, amazingly magnetic, but insanely competitive. For this reason, he takes great pride in his authority, insisting to Warren's vulnerability. He knows that by breaking down his friend's ego, he emerges as a superior being, thus making them feel grateful to have such a good friend like himself. As it can be seen, he has no compassion for anyone, not even his closest friends. After he learns that his drug dealer overdosed, he shows no compassion for his friend, concerned only with his own welfare. However, at the end of the play, Dennis reveals that his ego is just a cover which cannot deal with Warren's doubt about his relationship and breaks down in tears. On the other hand, we can find Warren, the other friend, who seems to be the most authentic character on the play. Unlike his friend, he understands he's wasting his money and his time in New York. He knows that he's not getting any intellectual stimulation and that all he's doing is just getting high. So, for this reason, Warren is also more able to express vulnerability and his sense of loss. His compassion emerged when he recognized how much his father has suffered, although his father have physically and mentally abused him. He also shows compassion for Dennis, even though he recognizes how self involved his friend is. So these two are the examples of this America, liberal America, believing in the American dream. The first one, Dennis, is a very competitive person, no, with a lot of ego, no compassion, rigid, cold guy whose ideals were shared by the American dream, but he's a bit frustrated since he can't get to that American dream since he's a very young guy. On the other hand, Warren, although he has gone through a lot of problems, he seems to be the most human. In spite of the problem, he is the most compassionate and human character in the play. Then we can find Jessica, which is the Warren's girlfriend. Although she's not very important on the play, she plays an important role to portray those insecurities from many teenagers in order to confront life, adult life. So these main characters, Warren, Dennis, and Jessica, live in a standby mode, where no progression is made and the scenes are quite overwhelming since no one in the play seems to progress in life. In fact, the characters, including Jessica, are on the brink of adulthood but having difficulties with the transition. They have been living in a state of stasis, supported by their wealthy parents, who demand only their children leave them alone. None of them have been forced to examine his life in order to determine their future. In fact, their days are spent by drinking alcohol, having sex, thinking about sex, and consuming drugs, especially marijuana, just to fulfill their immediate desires. So, as a result of this transition into adulthood, those characters feel that drugs' immediate pleasure might be effective in order to palliate the pressure and the wasting time, no sense in life. So immediately they fall into drugs, into having sex, into doing nothing, into an sphere of meaningless. So as a result of this transition into adulthood, each of the main characters must find a clear sense of identity, and all of them, however, reveal an illusionary nature of those things around them. So they don't have the capacity for examining life like it is, since they have never been in front of it. So this generation we are talking about in this play by Kenneth Lonergan is the result of the many problems regarding identity and growing status from the 80s in America. The decade of the 80s was presided by Ronald Reagan, whose philosophy proposed the encouragement of the free market system, which depends on the individual pursuit of wealth. However, a national sense of consumerism was affecting the Americans and the population as a whole. And after that happened, sociologists warned of the effects of homelessness and abuse and insisted more governmental programs were required. So, as to understand this play, although the plot is not quite interesting in itself, it's a daily situation for many teenagers, it's interesting to see how many behaviors behaviors, conversations, concernings, and worries are shared by many people in our generation in the 21st century. So, Kenneth Lonergan managed to appropriate this global atmosphere of poverty and decline and put them together in this realistic drama called This Is Our Youth. He successfully introduced realism into the play and providing it with a sense of moral atrophy, noting its clinical examination of the aimlessness and emotional deadness of the main characters. So, this play can be considered quite contemporary and effective in order to portray many of the problems teenagers, young people are struggling with.